this is Amanda on Amanda's Alternatives. Today we're going to be making a pumpkin seed pesto pork chops. So with this recipe, there are so many alternatives you can do with it. Instead of using pork chops, you can use salmon or any other kind of fish or meat. It's really up to you, as well as the seeds. So if you do not have pumpkin seeds and you do not like pumpkin seeds or can't eat them for whatever reason, you can also use hemp seeds or any other kind of seeds that you may have at home. First, I would like to talk to you guys a little bit about where I got this recipe from. This recipe originated from the Food and Drink magazine of the early summer 2017 edition. So the recipe that's in this magazine is the sear roasted pork chops and sweet potatoes with hemp seed pesto. So I do not have hemp seed, so I'm going to use pumpkin seed instead. Other alternatives that I have done to this recipe, use a simple grinder or a blender, whatever you have that is available. Today I'm going to be using my simple grinder because we are in the midst of renovations and I do not feel like pulling out my food processor out of that room right now. They have used sweet potatoes for their side, and today I'm not going to be using sweet potatoes for my side. I'm going to be making an Asiago and cracked black pepper rice to go with our pork chops. However, I will not be demonstrating that recipe in today's video. Other alternatives that I have made to this recipe is I have significantly increased the amount of ingredients that I'm going to be using, such as garlic, basil, Parmesan cheese. So here's the recipe where I got the idea from. I will post a picture of it at the end of this video, as well as I will be posting my alternative recipe down below in the description. Alright guys, let's get our ingredients together now. So this is literally all of the ingredients that you will need for today's recipe. So we have our pumpkin seeds. Again, you can use any seeds that you prefer. These are just regular seeds, no salt added. You can find them at any grocery store. So I have measured out about a 1/4 cup to a 3/4 cup of the pumpkin seeds. You can add more or you can take out less. It is completely up to you based on how many pork chops that you will be making. Freshly grated Parmesan cheese. Again, there's only about 1/2 cup to 3/4 cup. I do try to keep these two as even as possible because it is going to be the majority of the flavor. And then we have our basil. As you have noticed from my previous recipes that I do not exactly measure out my ingredients, but rather I just kind of estimate how much I will be using. So I have about 5 basil leaves that I have chopped up. And then we have our garlic. I had about 6 or 7 cloves here that I will be chopping up. And then we have the pork chops. So I have about 6 pork chops here. Again, you can use salmon or chicken or anything that you have that is readily available. You can even use vegetables. And then we have our extra virgin olive oil, as well as salt and pepper, my simple grinder, and I just wanted to show you guys this basil and pesto mix here. So if you do not have extra basil leaves or garlic laying around in your fridge, you can actually use this instead. I would use about a teaspoon. This can be very potent and is very delicious in like salads. If you've ever even tried it before, it is fantastic. All you would need is just a teaspoon or even a tablespoon, completely up to you, depending on how much of that flavor you would like. Let's add our ingredients now. So we have our garlic, our basil, Parmesan, pumpkin seeds, and a little bit of salt and pepper. You can probably use about a 1/2 teaspoon to a teaspoon of salt and pepper. However, I only did a couple dashes of salt because the Parmesan would be salty enough. As you're blending it, you're going to want to add in a little bit of olive oil or any type of oil that you have. You can use vegetable oil, you can use grapeseed oil, whatever you have on hand. Add a little bit at a time. We're just going to blend it just enough that it is all well combined. This is the perfect consistency. If you want yours a little more watery than this, that is fine. You can add some water to loosen it up. Alright guys, are you ready for my next alternative? Wine. You guessed it. Wine is always a secret ingredient to most of my recipes. I added a little bit of wine into the pesto. It helped the consistency become a lot thinner. It also helped with the aromas and the flavoring as well. So just to give you an idea, I used about a quarter cup of wine and I used about a quarter cup of the olive oil. And both of the two combined helped the pesto become the perfect consistency, not to mention have the most perfect aromas and the flavor to it. And just know that you can use any type of wine that you wish to use. It could be Chardonnay, it could be Pinot Grigio, Riesling, any type of wine that you think would go very well with your mix. Today I used Chardonnay. Now we want to put a cover on it and place it in the fridge until we use it. Once you get your chops in a row, we're going to start seasoning them. Today I'm just going to be using Himalayan salt and pepper and just keep it simple. Don't forget to flip them over and do the same on the other side. Now we're going to sear each piece of pork chop. Place a little bit of butter in the pan. Give the pan a few minutes to heat up before placing the pork chop into the pan. Once you have seared your pork chops, just set them aside on a plate. It is okay if they are not fully cooked through. We're going to preheat the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. In the meantime, we're going to prepare our baking sheet or baking dish. We can line it with parchment paper, or you could spray it down, and we're going to place the pork chops onto the baking sheet. Brilliant! Just do a single dollop on each pork chop, and then go back and add more. And just spread it all on top. Careful to not go too close to the edges. Just leave enough room for when it cooks, it'll spread out on its own. So once your oven is preheated to 400, we're going to put the pork chops into the oven for about 20 to 30 minutes until it's cooked through. To determine if your pork chops are finished, you can use a thermometer, and if it registers 155 Fahrenheit or 68 Celsius is when it is cooked through. So once the pork chops are completed, allow them to sit for a couple minutes just until they cool down just a little bit. You can enjoy this dish with a drink that is on the sweeter side, such as a cider, a Pinot Grigio, a Riesling, or any other type of drink that is more on the fruitier or sweeter side, as that will pair very nicely with the basil and pesto mixture that we have created for the pork chops. That concludes my video for today. Thank you guys for joining me on Amanda's Alternatives. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe, and also check out my Instagram account at Amanda's Alternatives. Thank you guys. Have a great day.